everyone, my name is Deborah and I am the Chief Baker at the Cupcake Haven. I'm going to show you some simple ways to frost cupcakes at home so you can create some treats for your family. Please excuse me and be patient with me if I'm not fluent with being live. This is my first time being live. I've had some issues before, but I kind of tried it and hopefully this time it will work. So let's get started. What we have here are some things that you can find at a supermarket for the most part of it. First of all, there are these inexpensive, reusable frosting bags. I see them now selling all over at Massey stores, Extra Foods. So you could get one of these. They normally come with this little plastic thing. This is called a coupler. And usually this part fits into this part. And some of them come with tips. If not, you can buy plastic tips at the supermarket also. They have some selling that they sell the entire set, and so you can get them. But what I'm going to show you is number 20 Wilton tip. It's one of the tips that I love. It's a very small tip, and we use these to make small rosettes on top of cupcakes. So I'm going to show you how to attach this tip, how to place this tip onto your reusable frosting bag. So you can use that. What you do first is you get the longer part of your coupler and you stick it into the bag. Now sometimes the bag is too small at the end. You just snip off a piece of it so it fits exactly. And then what you do next is you put your tip on this part. It's kind of shaped so that the end of the tip can fit here exactly. Then you take this part of your tip, which is the top of the coupler, and you go down and you turn it in, and you keep turning until your tip is firmly in place, there's no shaking, and there you've bagged it. So then the next question is, what if I don't have these bags at home? I can't find any in my supermarket. That's okay. All you need is a large or small one of those resealable bags. I don't like to promote brands per se, but I prefer to use Ziploc or Glad bags because they are a stronger quality. What you do is take a scissors and you just simply snip off the tip of it just to give it a little space. I'm using a 1M tip here. Now if you want to go out and get these specific tips, you can find them at Tulips, you can find them at Ocasio's, you can find them at Cake Decor. In Chaguanas, there are a lot of cake supply stores. And these are some of the common tips, so a lot of people have them in store. You open your bag and you push the tip inside of the bag until the end is there. I'm going to bring it a little closer. I don't know how much you can see if the camera is really capturing it, but the bag is still on top of the tip. I don't have the benefit of the coupler to hold the tip in place, and I don't want my bag, one, bursting on me or the tip moving. So what I'm going to use is some regular Scotch tape. And I'm just going to take a little bit of the Scotch tape and I'm going to stick the tip around where the seam is meeting the tip to hold it in place. Similar to the one that I had here, I'm going to make sure that that holds firmly. Okay, and so your first part is done. And you have your two bags ready to frost your lovely, yummy cupcakes. So let's get these out of the way and let's get on to the yumminess. Now, I have two types of frosting here. I have buttercream frosting and cream cheese frosting. Yes, there's a difference in it, and it's really rather simple to do. One of the secrets of using frosting is that if I'm going to frost a cake, it is a smoother consistency of the frosting. If I'm frosting cupcakes, I whip my frosting a little longer so that there's a fluffy consistency. So you can see, very fluffy. And I'm just going to take a spoon and scoop that into the bag. I'm going to put some more. That's why I took the large bag. Into it. Now, there's a little space here. What you don't want is for the frosting to cut off the air bubbles in the bag, because then what happens is that you get air pockets, and when you squeeze, it's going to just blurt out on top of it. on top of your cupcake, and your frosting, your swirl is not going to look as pretty. And so when I put it in, I'm going to squeeze a little bit back into my bowl to make sure there is none coming out. Great. And so our first bag is done. The second one, I'm going to put my cream cheese frosting now into this bag. Hi, Lyndon. How are you? Thanks for joining us live. Yes, let me know when you're ready for your cupcakes. So this is cream cheese frosting, and I'm going to slip that into my bag similarly. And again, I'm going to squeeze down to make sure that there's no air bubbles, and squeeze until I see frosting come out at the end of it. Now we're ready to frost. Let's start with our cherry vanilla cupcake. So take one cupcake, and this is the motion I'm going to go to get a swirl. Hello, Sanya. I hope I pronounced it properly. Thank you for your compliment on our cupcakes. So this is our cherry vanilla cupcake and our vanilla bean frosting. Thank you, Suzette. Hi. Okay, so you're going to go on top of it. You're going to leave a little room, and then just swirl around, and you come back on top. And look at that. Isn't that a pretty swirl? Right? And then let's do another one. You know, cupcakes are always good. One cupcake is never enough. And so we do another one, and we have two lovely swirls of frosting. How can we top this now? So this is our cherry vanilla cupcake. And there are different ways to top cupcakes. First is I have some maraschino cherries that I have sliced into half, and I'm just going to take one and put it to the side of it because that's our traditional way. These are birthday cupcakes actually for a client. And what's birthdays without sprinkles? Everybody loves sprinkles. Hi, Risa. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Jessica. So these sprinkles now, if you go into Extra Foods or Hilo, Peaks also has a great supply. You can get sprinkles anywhere. There's a CK brand, there is Wilton brand, there's lots of sprinkles. I chose the flat confetti, and because I like them, they're bigger. And then we're just going to sprinkle. There you go. Are you all seeing? Lovely, yummy sprinkles. But what are birthday cupcakes without birthday picks? Ta-da! Birthday picks. And these are very inexpensive now. There's some that you can get at Massey stores for sure. They have happy birthdays. They have little princess crowns and stuff. So you don't have to necessarily go out and buy cupcakes if you're not a great cake maker. There are some cake mixes that you can make, and that will definitely add to it. You can also get some lovely liners. These are happy birthday cupcake liners. They're Wilton brand, and I got them at Peaks in I don't know exactly where is that area, but near West Moorings. I'm trying to remember the name of the place right now. Okay, so my little pick says happy birthday, and I'm going to just stick that right in the center. And so we have happy birthday, and we have a cherry top cupcake. Yay! All right. Hi, Keisha. Jonelle, I hope I pronounced your name properly. Amanda and Jessica. Really happy that you all could join us. And so now, let's look at our red velvet cupcake. You know, it always amazes me how these rise so lovely. Doesn't this look yummy? So, what is a red velvet cupcake? So let me tell you, not everyone understands. A red velvet cupcake is really a traditional cocoa cake. And what we do is, so long ago, when cocoa was processed, it used to actually be sort of reddish in color. And so when they used the raw cocoa, it would turn the cupcakes red. Since then, they've refined the process. So when you add cocoa to the cakes, it doesn't necessarily turn it red. So bakers have started using red food dyes, gel coloring to turn it red. But the difference between this and a chocolate cake is while some chocolate cakes use cocoa, some people actually use melted chocolate in their chocolate cakes, is that this has sour cream in it. The richness of this cake really comes from the sour cream or yogurt you can add to it. Alright, and what goes better with red velvet than cream cheese frosting? Yum! I'm going to show you how to do a small rosette. So those little bouquets that you see on top of some of our cupcakes sometimes. Wrong tip. I'm going to go back to my disposable bag. It's filled with cream cheese frosting. And I have a Wilton tip number 20 for those of you who are just joining us on Facebook Live. So here we go. And I'm going to come really close for this one so you can see clearly what I'm doing. I'm going to go to the edge here and I'm going to swirl out and come around, and there you have one rosette. And then I'm going to go in the other direction, swirl out, come around, and then you have your second rosette. So it starts from in. Remember when we were frosting the other one, we went out. A little bit of mess there. But what's cupcakes without some yummy mess? Okay. And here we go. Okay. I think I put too little bit. Let me put some more in here. And again, I'm refilled my bag, but there is some air at the bottom here. You want to squeeze until you see frosting come out. Otherwise, you're going to have, in the middle of your frosting, you're going to have a big air pop, and that's just going to mess up your pattern that you're doing on your cupcake. So again, here we go. And we're going in to the outside of the swirl. You start in and you swirl out, and then you start in and you swirl out, and you have little rosettes. Now, if you go back, you will see that there are some spaces. Very simple to fill. You just come in, squeeze, 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 and it's all filled. Do you think I should put sprinkles on it? Or should I leave it like this? Or maybe a happy birthday pic? You tell me what to do and I will do that. Or do we just leave it like this? Okay. And then I expect your call just now. Of course, sprinkles. Okay, Dale has voted for sprinkles. So we're going to add some sprinkles, and so has Jessica. We're definitely going to put some sprinkles. I'm seeing someone said, add a happy birthday pic. Let's do that also, okay? Sprinkles. There we go. And a happy birthday pic. So, one other thing we can do. Oh, and by the way, the reason I've done the cream cheese frosting in this swirl pattern, because this is all going into one box for a customer, is that I want her to be able to distinguish when I do the red velvet with regular frosting versus the cream cheese frosting. So they can tell, okay, the one with the rosettes are cream cheese and the one without, because sometimes customers will have an issue figuring out which is which. You can also do that for your guests at home, just so they understand, and there are different ways you can play around with your frosting, really have fun with it. So let's frost another one, and I'm going to show you how to create a fondant letter. Okay? So, let's create the letter L, if I remember the person's name properly. And I'm going to use some pink fondant because we have used pink cupcake picks. So I have some pink fondant here. I have the dark pink and the light pink. I'm going to go with the darker one. What else do we need? When you take fondant out, now you can buy these fondant. We use satin ice fondant. There's also Wilton fondant. There is fondant. There is CK. There is Duchess. There are quite a few, but the most available in Trinidad is satin ice. And I find it to be really good. You can also make your fondant at home from scratch, but that's really a long process. And depending on the climate, it's not always going to hold. So when you have a lot of cakes to do, the best thing to do is your satin ice fondant. Oh, by the way, let me tell you a big secret. Everyone always says to us, I don't really like the fondant, you know, but what if I told you that under the fondant there is a layer of buttercream? Yum! So you can still have that really good looking cupcake and not have to worry about, cake, and not have to worry about if you like fondant or not. You just peel off the fondant and your buttercream is there. Some people love fondant. Our fondant artist, Kara, loves fondant. It's like, how do you give someone who loves fondant, a job where she works with fondant? She would be eating it all the time, right? Okay, so we have this cupcake and we're going to create a letter. I'm trying to find a tool that's not as dangerous as my paring knife. I use a paring knife because it's just the simplest thing to use in terms of getting sharp edges. Here we go. So Wilton has this little tool. It's a pointy tool at the end. It's like a knife. It's flat, it's plastic, and then there's something that you can stick as a point. So, oh yes, Jessica. Price Club has a lot of things. Fondant, I wouldn't say to go to the small. Now, if you are doing it at home, yes, Massey stores and Extra Foods have little packs of fondant. So I think they're $50. If you go to Peppercorns, they have fondant, the satin ice 1 pound fondant for like $107, and I think Tulips has it for $96. If you are into cake decorating in a serious way, the cake stores have fondant, yes, but it's super expensive at the cake stores. So we purchased 20-pound buckets of fondant, and there are a few places that we get those from. Yeah, they are kind of pricey, but I actually find that cake decor, in terms of the cake stores, they have some of the best prices in terms of fondant. Bakery treats in Chaguanas also, they have fondant for sale also, but in buckets, yeah? So back to how we use the fondant. So here we are. So what I've done is, when you get fondant, one of the most important things, and I don't have a big piece with me, but is to knead. You have to knead fondant. As a fondant artist, as a cake artist, one of the main things to do, keep your nails short and clean. Clean because I work with my hands all the time, obviously, you're touching food. And short because I don't want my nails to rip any of the fondant when I'm doing fondant work and I'm smoothing it over a cake. Maybe my next video I can show you all how to cover a cake with fondant. Okay, so I'm just going to take a little piece, and what I have here is a Martha Stewart name template, and letter template, and you can see it has all the different letters. I don't know if you can catch it really clearly, but they have all these nice little ridges that kind of makes it look like what you call this, it kind of looks like flowers and leaves. So anyway, so I'm going to make her name begins with S, and I know there's an L in there. So let's look at how we make it. I'm going to come down a little closer. Hopefully you guys can see me. And I'm going to choose out my letter. Let's do the L, and I'm going to just smooth that over the L. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to roll away the excess fondant. Roll it away. This is why you need the pointy end of your tool now, so you can lift up all the excess fondant from your mat, because you want to keep your mat clean. Once you're finished using your mat, please wash it with some warm water and soap with a sponge. Make sure you get every little crease clean, and then you leave it to air dry. Okay, so then I'm going to cut here, and I'm going to cut here to make sure. I'm going to roll it again because I want it to be extremely smooth inside there. There's no spaces missing. And then I'm just going to pull out, and I can pull it out with my finger. And there, I have a perfect little letter L. Yeah? And let's do it once again so you can see. Oh, another important tip is that when you are using fondant, try to get it as firm as possible. If you take fondant and it's very soft, it's not going to work. So what you do is you add a little bit of Tylose powder, and there are 2 brands of Tylose powder that I use. I use this brand of Tylose powder as well as the Wilton brand of Tylose powder. And you just add a little bit to the fondant, mix it around. You can leave it to air dry a little bit, and then it will get firmer. Because if it's sticky, it's going to stick inside of your ridges and you're going to have a lot of problems doing that. Alright? So let's do the S now. And again, I'm going to just scrape away some of the excess here. I'm going to roll our roller over it. Cut away the excess. If you can see, I can see here that my S is not formed properly. There's a piece of the fondant missing. So I'm going to take a little ball again, and I'm just going to stick that back in there to make sure there's no spaces. And you really have to take it. Making beautiful cakes, it's time consuming, you know. A lot of people say, why do cakes cost that much, or how much effort does it take to make a cake? It's very simple. It takes hours and hours for cake makers, especially those that want to make your cake look perfect. Because, for example, I am OCD, so that if it's not perfect, I'm going to do it over and over again until it's done properly. And I'm just going to gently lift out our S, and our S is perfectly formed. Then, let's go back to all you sprinkle lovers, and I'm going to take some sprinkles, and I'm just going to sprinkle it around the edges, and I'm going to put our S. Okay, our S is still drying. Leave your lettuce to dry like maybe a minute or 2 if there isn't enough Tylose in it. And then I'm going to rest it right in the center of it. And so I'm going to spell out her name with the letters. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed our small tutorial. Thank you all so much for joining us. If there are any questions that you have, let me know. We'll try to answer them as best possible. And then join us again when we're live. The next thing I will try to do for you, and it might be midnight, because that's the time cake makers work. You know, everyone, when it's weekend, they're like, oh great, it's weekend. No, it's Friday. I don't have a life. I'm a cake maker. But truth be told, I love what I do. So when I'm in here, I'm at peace. No one's around me. All my tools and my equipment are in place, and I'm happy. It's actually the best time. You get to reflect on things. You get to be creative. You know, you just ignore the bumps in the night that you hear. But those are the times that my best ideas. So when we do our wedding cakes, when we do some of those big, humongous, this is where the creativity happens. I'm so excited. There's so many exciting cakes, wedding cakes that we have for this year, and I get excited about it. You know, for example, we're going to do an Aladdin theme wedding soon, and we're going to do a Lord of the Rings wedding cake. And I just really love being creative. If you are a creative person, this is how it begins. My story, when I was 18 years old, I did my O-levels, my A-levels. I thought I would come out of school and have the perfect job waiting for me. I didn't. So I bought a huge Wilton book, and I started to learn to make cakes at home. And my mother wouldn't give me any money because she said, listen, you finish school, you need to figure out how you're going to make money. So I made cakes, and I sold cakes so I could go to parties. Needless to say, I went back to school, I did my degree, and I went into corporate life. I worked for a number of wonderful companies, and I met some really great people who've inspired me to be better. But eventually, it just came back to I had to do what I was passionate about. And so I started my cake-based business. It really started with word of mouth. People recommended me to other people. We have a strong network. We put our love and energy into every single cake we make. And so once you do that and you give your best, you know, you're always going to have people coming back to you. You're not always going to be great every day. So even if sometimes you fall short, don't feel bad about it. It happens to everybody, even the best people. The question is, how do you deal about it with it? Do you stay down or do you go back and do the best that you can? I'm grateful for all those people who've supported us from the beginning, as well as the team that supports me now. Tamara, Nisha, Kevin, Sean, Stacy, Kara, Kyla. We have a really wonderful team here at the Cupcake Haven. And if they say that I'm a little crazy and neurotic at times, they're not telling the truth. Yes, midnight is the best time, Carrie-Ann. It is. And you go until maybe 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. I think the last cake I did, I worked until 6 o'clock. I started at 11 p.m. and I finished at 6 because the cake was due at 8:30 that morning. And so to make sure we had everything together for the delivery guys, and even down to the last minute, I was still fussing with all the things that we made. So guys, thanks so much for joining us. I hope our tutorial can help you. Remember, you don't need the fancy bag. Just get the Ziploc bag and some Scotch tape. You can get plastic tips at the supermarkets. Or if you do want to go out and get some, your first tip should be your 1M tip. That's the best tip for frosting cupcakes. That's where it all starts. All right? Okay, bye. Thanks.